hello, Riven mains and Yasuo mains alike. I am the Nightwing, Way of Life Esports, coming at you guys with another League of Legends video. So I just want to say thank you to every single person that hit me up about the League of Legends podcast that I am going to be revamping for the next year coming up. What I want you guys to do, because I'm going to have more likely, depending on your schedule, I'm going to have each and every single one of you on a podcast individually for yourself, so you can tell the viewers, obviously, you know, who you are, how long you've been playing League of Legends, what team you support, stuff like that. So outside of your individual podcast that you're getting for yourself, if you are going to be available for that, so if you want to be on, I'm talking to a few of you guys right now. You guys said that you're willing to be able to do that. So after your individual podcast that you'll be on, I need you guys to start working on your LCS 2020 spring power rankings. If you want to do it for EU or LCK, we can do that, but EU and LCK aren't really exactly confirmed in every single roster yet, so that's why I said just do NA first. So do your NA power rankings, that way when we actually get a chance to get all of our power rankings ready, we can do that. So please do that for me. I'm working on my power rankings right now, but obviously this is going to be a spoiler for my power rankings because this is going to be my 10th place team, and I'll explain that in just a moment. So, outside of that, thank you guys all for, actually applying for the podcast. I'm going to have a blast working with all of you. All of you guys from your emails and DMs were really, really cool dudes, and I just want some cool dudes, where we can have a consistent team, just like the Dive, Euphoria, the Hotline League, just like that. Just have a consistent trio or quad or penta level of guys who know their shit, and who obviously are watching consistently and want to talk about the scene and just have their opinions out there. Now, I will say this before I start the video, is that having your opinion out there means that nobody is going to like it. League of Legends, as I've learned over the last 5 years that I've been watching every single region, is that nobody can accept anybody's opinion, but they respect you to a certain degree. And respect in League goes a very, very certain degree of, level of where that I'm not really sure where it goes, honestly. But just because I don't agree with your opinion doesn't mean I don't have to like you. And you guys all showed that you don't agree with most things that I say, or some things you do agree with, but you like me. And I can respect that. And I can respect you for that too. So yes, be prepared for people to call you stupid, a moron, a nagger, just a bunch of stuff. Just be prepared for that, because that is just what I want. Also, what I want is, no quitting, please. That is a pet peeve of mine, that if you already don't like something and you get into something knowing that we're all going to be consistent at it, and then you quit randomly on the viewer. I understand, you're going to obviously have weeks where you're not going to be on the podcast. That's fine. That's why I have multiple different people. Like Hedgie, whenever he wants to be on, is going to be on. He was the first person and me to ever do this, so he's going to be on. There's that one guy you saw, I forgot his name, in the last podcast. He's going to be on, whenever he wants to be. So that's why we have rotating people. So that way, if one person gets sick, I can just draw that person in. Or if whoever wants to be on the consistent level of it, where you want to be on every single week, that's perfectly fine as well. So with all that out of the way, let's start talking about the 10th place roster in Golden Guardian. So for all you guys that are doing your LCS power rankings right now, after I told you to do that, if you do not have this roster at 10th place, you're probably trolling. Now, you can have whatever you want at your 10th place, but this is going to be my 10th place roster. This roster is 10th place material for several different reasons. I know they talked about, they have a lot of potential. There's a lot of, what's the word I would use? They're like the underdogs right now. But in terms of that, LCS really doesn't look at things like underdogs, because at one point, being an underdog, the spark that goes into being an underdog eventually goes out. So let's talk about the positives first, because I have a literal shit ton of negatives. So let's go over the positives first. The positives is that they have a new import in Closer who came from Royal Youth. You guys remember Closer? He was on the Royal Youth team that faced Clutch Gaming at Worlds just this past month, or last month, yeah, in the play-in stage. He got knocked out by Clutch 3-0, so he wants to get that revenge against Dignitas when the splits actually start back up. I think that he has a lot of potential. He's fairly new to the scene. Coming from Turkey all the way to North America means that this is going to be a debut breakout split for him. meaning that you have to obviously be ready to take on the best level of competition with your A game. With a team like this, he's going to really, really, really have to put on that MVP performance, because let's look at the other laners that a lot of people are pointing at. So Haunter is without a doubt the best player on the team. That should go without saying. He was actually a top 4, top 3, top laner all last year. Outside of maybe the first few weeks of spring, he's been pretty good. He can play carries, he can play the tanks, he can play the weak side top laners really well. He can create map pressure effectively to the point where junglers have to camp him, and then he's been able to not really hold that jungle pressure effectively, because you can draw jungle pressure, but if you're not able to effectively avoid ganks or be able to effectively punish that jungler to an effective way that I consider good, then you're going to be considered not the best top laner, but you are going to be on my top 5 level. I think he is top 5 level. I think that this time around, since Golden Guardians gave Haunter a lot of carry boots last year in terms of the 2019 spring and summer splits, we're going to have to see him in 2020 bounce back consistently in order to be able to have a carry role throughout the whole year. Because at no point during any of Golden Guardians games, he cannot be pretty much not carrying them, because that's going to lead me into my another point, which is the bot lane. I'll talk about Golden Glue in a moment, because I don't think he's exactly as bad as people are making him out to be, but there are problems with him. Now, looking at how Haunter has performed over the course of this year, with how Froggen and as much resources as he's got, you have to look at Haunter and go, okay, what the actual hell can he do to really get this team out of 10th place contention? Now, I'm going to talk about why they're going to be in 10th place. So, for most of you who already know, Keith left Cloud9 Academy to join Golden Guardians Academy. Then, Golden Guardians, on their YouTube channel, what they said, and this is out of the coach's mouth, is that they couldn't get Hakuho or another support they were trying to get. So they asked Keith, did he want to be the support? Now, Keith reluctantly said yes, because obviously he plays ADC. So you're probably thinking to yourself, like, why would he want to role swap? Now, a lot of people are going to probably say to me, well, he role swapped because, you know, he wants to obviously have a starting position. That is completely understandable. Whether or not that is completely understandable does not change the fact that he is a new support. Now, people are going to be like, well, who he switched, and, you know, he was really successful at switching between mid and support. No, he wasn't. Because if he was really successful... See, that's the thing, though. People are going to give you the most cock bullshit answers in existence, right? So, let's use the Huhi as an example, right? Huhi went and role swapped from mid to support, right? He got Golden Guardians to 2nd place in the academy scene, which is fine, but if he was really good, why didn't they pick him to be the starting support? Just please tell me why they would choose Keith over a person who role swapped earlier than he did, actually played splits one split as a newly role swap support, who he has had much more better achievements than Keith ever did in terms of just international success. So they must not be really what's the word I would use? There's a word I want to use for this right now, but I can't think of it right now. Sorry about this. There is a reason why they didn't choose Huhi and rather would choose Keith's support over someone who already role swapped to it. They just don't probably see him as a strong support. Not only that, FBI and Keith were going to have to work on synergy. So they're a new bot lane. FBI had some pretty decent stand-up performances. I remember watching him on Bombers when he went to MSI. He's still a pretty decent ADC. I don't think he's exactly a problem, but I don't think he's exactly a solution either, if that makes any sense. I think that he has an issue of not knowing when to exactly pull the trigger. And I think a lot of ADCs in his position do. They don't want to be the AD carry who ints, you know what I mean? So he plays a lot more safe. He plays a lot more like, if I do this and I make myself look like a fool, I'm gonna get laughed at. That's how I see his play. If you see it completely different, go ahead. Tell me why you think it's different. But their bot lane is really weak, especially with them role swapping. People need to understand, just because Perks, Ambition, and Score had really successful role swaps does not mean that everybody else that no one ever talks about had successful role swaps. Other people did role swaps too. That doesn't mean it worked out. That's because, well, there's always going to be more clarified role swaps than there are going to be the ones that didn't work out. So just picture this. There's going to be, in life, there's going to be a lot more things that worked out, but there's always going to be things that didn't work out that nobody talked about. Nobody talks about the other role swaps that didn't work out. People only really reference the successful ones. This one is not going to be successful. Here, $5 bet. By the end of this year, this is not going to work out. They're going to choose a different support. If Keith is not a successful support for them by the end of next year in 2020 summer, once they get knocked out of, playoffs or knocked out of semifinals or whatever they're going to make, because let's be honest, they're not making anything happen in spring. It's going to take this roster time to gel, and then they might make playoffs in summer for next year. Might. I'm going to give them a might, and that's going to be like a 20% might, because this roster right here is 10th place. And I know there's people that have put Immortals at 10th place. What type of crack are you smoking? Xmithy and Soaz just alone will not be 10th place material. Just that alone. Then you have Hakuo, who's a decent support. Just that trio alone is not going to be 10th place material. This is a 10th place material team. Newly role swap support. You have a pretty unproven jungler. And then you have Golden Glue. Now let's talk about Golden Glue. So Golden Glue, the last time he saw any type of LCS playtime, when he was on TL back in 2017 summer, actually. So, last time we really saw him play on the LCS stage was then. Now, the last time we saw him, when it really counted, was when Cloud9 used him for their, 2018 win against TSM during the summer split. He got to play some games then. He got to play some games after that in the finals. Right after that, we didn't really see him anymore. We saw him play a few games for Cloud9 this year, but it really never amounted to nothing. I'm pretty sure he lost a couple of those games and won a few, so that really doesn't matter. But I don't think that he's really going to be a mid laner to the point where if he was just Pobelter level, that's fine. But we know he's not that. We know he's not Pobelter level. I know people are going to be like, well, he had a good, resurgence on Cloud9. They reformed him. I do believe Cloud9 reformed him. They humbly did. But that doesn't really mean... Okay, so now, take off everything Cloud9 did for him. Now he's on his own. Okay, now he's on his own. There's no Reaper. There's no Svenskeren. You know what I mean? There's no Cloud9 staff to back him up. We know Golden Guardians don't have that exact same infrastructure, the same coaching staff as Cloud9 has. And this could potentially be the same thing he went through back when he was on other teams, not Cloud9. Remember, now he's all on his own. Now the criticism is going to start rolling in if he starts playing bad. He's the only NA mid right now. I personally would have liked if Golden Guardians went with Pobelter or Damonte as their mids, because they just in general are just better than him. It's no offense to him, but I just don't think he's that good. You know what I mean? So I think he's just below Pobelter. Now, Pobelter is actually pretty good. So when you look at Pobelter and then you compare Golden Glue to Pobelter, who would you rather have on your roster? Pobelter or Golden Glue? If the majority of you say Golden Glue, you're smoking some good crack. If the majority of you say Pobelter or Damonte, you're in the right place. Because you factor in, what if he goes back to that form he had on TL? Okay, you're not going to want that, right? But the reason why no one ever saw that these past couple of years was because he was on Academy for 4 splits in a row. And the issue comes with when Cloud9 needed to start getting some wins back in 2018 summer, when they obviously needed to make playoffs. Why didn't they just roll with Golden Glue? They switched back to Jensen real quick, didn't they? Remember, Jack said Golden Glue's a starter for a little bit. We'll see how it works out. It didn't work out because they chose Jensen again. Then, for every single split after that, up until the point where he got chosen now for Golden Guardians, where was he at? He played a few games on the stage outside of Niski. Other than that, I mean, it's been pretty much just not the best overall showing, even since he's had that really high of making the finals with Cloud9. So this roster is just all bad. This is 10th place written all over it. Now, theoretically, this could be a roster where they start off like 6-0, because randomly that'll happen from like multiple different regions. But I just don't think that this will have the staying power. This doesn't have any real star power other than maybe top in jungle. And outside of that, you're looking at potentially the weakest bot side in the league. 10th place is written all over this. I swear to God, if people put Immortals lower than this team, just why? How is Soaz and Smithy going to be anything lower than these guys? Like, Soaz is better probably individually than all these guys. So, that's how I feel right now. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm the Nightwing, and Way of Life Esports is signing out.
Hi there, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff.
Yeah, thank you.